How many stem cells you have in your bloodstream determines the ability of your body to repair. If you don't have a lot of stem cells in circulation, you will be the person who will develop age-related diseases, who will not repair well when you have an injury, will not recover well from physical activity. That's basically a sign here that you don't have a lot of stem cells in your bloodstream.
You're listening to the Digest This podcast, and I'm your host, Bethany Cameron. If you suffer with chronic pain, chronic gut issues, organ issues, arthritis, unexplained pain where nothing else helps, and have exhausted your resources in trying to figure out the cause, today's episode may enlighten you and give you some insight as to what your body may be missing to naturally heal and repair itself without any pharmaceuticals. Christian Drapeau is here with me today as he shares about stem cell therapy and what it can do for the body in its own repair mechanisms. If you've heard of stem cell therapy, then you already know it can be quite costly and cost up to $50,000 just for one injection. That's right, $50,000 just for one injection. But thankfully, Christian came up with a much, much more affordable solution and perhaps a safer solution than the needle, and shares about his discovery among certain plants that can help your body repair itself on a cellular level naturally to combat those pestering, unexplained autoimmune issues. Heck, maybe you just want to age at a much slower speed, look younger, and have more energy to go through life. I can guarantee everyone that listens today will benefit from the information shared in this episode. Anti-aging has become more of a hot topic these days. You often hear the term longevity floating around. Hey, look, aging isn't a bad thing. We're all aging, but if we can age more gracefully and naturally, I'm all about it. You've probably heard me talk about Timeline skincare serum before, but this is not another anti-aging serum. It's pro-longevity skincare backed by science. This serum is Timeline's best-selling, award-winning formula powered by MitoPure, which is a highly pure form of urolithin A, clinically proven to enhance the skin's natural energy supply and support cellular renewal from within. It helps your skin act younger, so it looks and feels more energized, resilient, and radiant. In user trials, 90% agreed their skin felt protected, 80% saw more youthful, renewed skin, and 77% noticed instant tightening. So, if you've tried all the topicals for younger looking skin with little to no result, give Timeline Skin Serum a try. Discover the science of stronger, more radiant skin with Timeline Serum. Visit timeline.com/digest for 10% off your first order. That's timeline.com/digest. You guys hear me talk about Fatty 15 all the time on my Instagram because it has 3 times the healthy aging cell benefits of omega-3 fish oils, among other amazing benefits. But more studies are coming out that the C15 fatty acid found in Fatty 15 also has multiple anti-cancer activities by affecting cellular processes like inflammation, proliferation, and cell signaling. Guys, this is huge. If you haven't yet been convinced that Fatty 15 is amazing for your health for its anti-inflammatory properties and anti-aging benefits, the studies and evidence that it has anti-cancer properties should. Fatty 15 is also proven to resist oxidation factors, unlike most fish oil supplements on the market today, which are already rancid by the time they reach the grocery store shelves. Fatty 15 never oxidizes and it's vegan. I take 1 small capsule in the morning and I even got my husband on it. But don't worry, if you can't swallow pills, you can also open up the capsule and sprinkle it on food. So whether you're vegan, don't like the taste of fish oil, or don't want to ingest rancid oils that are commonly found in fish oil supplements, try Fatty 15 to help support and restore your long-term health. And who would I be without offering a discount to the Digest This community? Fatty 15 has graciously given me the ability to offer you 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit. Just go to fatty15.com/digest and use code DIGEST, and you can cancel anytime. That's FATTY15.com/digest or use code digest at checkout. Well, thanks so much, Christian, for coming on. Appreciate your time and willing to share.
My pleasure.
I want to start the podcast off about what stem cell is, the benefits, and then we can go into stem regen and why that's different than the typical like stem cell research and therapy.
For most people, stem cells is a treatment. Like they hear about it, it's a place you go and you get an injection of stem cells for whatever reason. And this is really just the tip of the iceberg. So the whole science of stem cells goes so much deeper than this. When we kind of fully understand what they mean in our lives, then we realize that they are playing an absolutely vital role in our lives. So stem cells essentially are everywhere in the body, but they reside essentially in the bone marrow. They're constantly released from the bone marrow, and they are a blank cell that once released will be called to migrate in various organs and tissues that are in need of repair or maintenance. And then stem cells will migrate there, and then they will become cells of that tissue, literally maintaining, repairing that tissue. So stem cells are literally the repair system of the body.
Okay, and how do we create stem cells?
I mean, just like you create any other cell, they divide. And so stem cells you're born with a number of stem cells in your bone marrow, and they constantly divide during the entire life of an individual. This is one of the most important characteristics and unique characteristics to stem cell is that they will multiply during the entire life of an individual. So they self-replicate.
Okay, so for simplicity's sake, what if someone, or is there the possibility that someone is not creating as much stem cells? Just like if you were to get blood work and they come back and say, oh, you have a low red blood cell count, right? Is there a way to measure that?
Absolutely. So in our studies, we use what is normally used to quantify stem cells, which is a flow cytometer. So it's a machine that will take your blood sample, line up all the cell behind another one, in a line. They go into a tube, they pass in front of a laser, and then the machine will basically identify which cell is passing right there in front of that laser. And by doing so, you can count the number of stem cells. So that's how we count the number of stem cells. And you brought something that is very, very important, because if you look at red blood cells, white blood cells, between a low count of white, let's say within the healthy range, between a low count and a high count, you will rarely have more than, let's say, a twofold increase, threefold increase max. When you look at stem cells, in the lab, in all the studies, the tests that we have done, you can go between somebody with a very low amount of stem cells to a very high, and you can have up to about like 500-fold difference between a low count and a high count. And how many stem cells you have in your bloodstream determines the ability of your body to repair. So people who are in the lower end of stem cells, naturally, there's nothing that they have done wrong. If you don't have a lot of stem cells in circulation, you will be the person who will develop age-related diseases, who will not repair well when you have an injury, will not recover well from physical activity. That's basically a sign here that you don't have a lot of stem cells in your bloodstream.
Okay, so then you kind of just brought up a great point that I was going to ask you next is, what are the benefits of having these stem cells, or what are the repercussions if you don't have enough? Like I'm talking, could you have gut issues, skin issues? Could you have autoimmune disease? You maybe age faster. Who can benefit from stem cells?
All the above.
Okay.
Meaning whenever a tissue is attacked or I don't know what's the right word here, but it's damaged for whatever reason, exhausted. It's using its own stem cell layers because each organ and tissue in the body has its own stem cells: cardiac stem cells, lung stem cells, liver stem cells, muscle stem cells. Every tissue has its own stem cells. When a tissue is injured, damaged, and I'm linking this here, you talk about autoimmune disease, when there's a process that is taxing an organ and generating degeneration in this organ, then that organ needs to repair. So it will use its internal stem cells to repair. But there's a point, if this is sustained over long periods of time, it doesn't have to be long. If it's chronic in any shape or in any manner, it's going to exhaust its own stem cell layer. And now it depends on exogenous stem cells, meaning stem cells from the bone marrow, coming to replenish that stem cell layer to support the repair of an organ or the tissue. So basically, stem cells go from the bone marrow to the tissue, and then they repair the tissue. So if you have colitis, autoimmune issues, whatever is the problem, even if it's like it's in your genes, like you tend to be, like you come from a family with people that are, there's all a diabetes in your family. That's the exhaustion of cells making insulin. So if you have enough stem cells in circulation, you can offset the issue, compensate for the issue by putting more stem cells into that tissue to help the tissue repair. So you're not necessarily getting rid of the problem or the issue itself. You're just boosting the ability of the organ to repair and maintain itself.
Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. You're basically allowing your body to repair the way it's supposed to. It's almost like taking vitamin C, right? Vitamin C isn't necessarily going to help you, but it's going to boost your immune system to fight off X, Y, and Z. Is it? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, yes and no. Yes, in the sense that your example is good. You take vitamin C to support your immune system. Here with stem cells, what we're talking about, and it's something that has never been there in our medical language, is that the human body has a repair system. There are cells in your bodies whose task is to go and repair organs and tissues. Now, you can take a lot of things to support that process, but the stem cells is, in fact, the building block of the body's ability to repair. So it's like, it's fundamental in the ability of your body to repair. And I think I'm going to make it very simple, but if I go very deep in the science, it's still like that statement still remains true just as it is. Your health today is the sum of two forces in your body: cellular loss, cells that are dying and disappearing from organs and tissues based on your genetic, your lifestyle, your age, exposure to free radicals, inflammation, exposure to environmental toxicity, your physical activity, all kinds of autoimmune problems that are going to apply a pressure that will make your tissues turn over faster. On the other end, how many stem cells do you naturally have in your bloodstream to offset the rate at which you lose cells? If you have enough stem cells to offset the rate at which you lose cells, you're fine. You go around and you experience like radiant health, and you go take a big hike in the mountain in the weekend, you come back not affected, you recovered super fast, like you're fine. The moment that you lose that balance, where you start to your rate at which you lose cells because of whatever reason is higher than how many stem cells you have in your bloodstream, then you start to accumulate deficit in your tissues. And that imbalance happens in everybody's life. Past 40 years of age, roughly, the number of stem cells has declined enough that even if you have everything ideal on the other side in terms of free radical control, reduce inflammation, everything is perfect, you're still lacking enough the number of stem cells in order to offset this process of cellular loss. And if you look today at, let's say, a healthy, vibrant 70-year-old that can still run a marathon, I bet you that if we were to go and count how many stem cells he has in his bloodstream or she has in her bloodstream, we will see that it's a person that naturally is born with more stem cells in circulation.
Interesting. Well, and I would bet money that anyone with an autoimmune disease is lacking the sufficient amount of stem cells for them to rebuild, because their body is constantly trying to heal, yet it can't. No?
Yes and no, depending that the assaulting condition, which is the autoimmune one, is something that is coming from your gut, most likely, that is getting into your bloodstream and then activates your immune system and it starts to target a specific area of your body. So that is the autoimmune process. Now, if you happen to have a lot of stem cells in your bloodstream, you can repair fast. So you may have an autoimmune problem and experience very little impact on your quality of life. But you can have the other person with the same autoimmune problem, not caused by anything related to stem cells, not caused because you don't have enough or too many. None of this. It's just the autoimmune process on its own. But if you don't have enough stem cells in circulation, you cannot repair that damage, and you are very quickly affected by significant impact on your quality of life.
A lot of my listeners have gut issues and digestive issues. So I want to ask specifically, what can stem cells do for the gut and for your digestion?
I'll give you an answer that is true for just about anything. The difference with the digestive system is that the turnover rate of the digestive system, I should say the lining of the intestine, is extremely fast. So you got a new lining of the intestine probably every week. So that's a very rapid turnover. So if something is aggressing and damaging the lining of the intestine, you can very quickly exhaust the stem cell layer in areas of your digestive system. And if that area now is unable to repair properly, then you start to have leaky gut, irritation, and everything that is associated with colitis, any issues with the gut. Now, if you release stem cells and they can replenish the stem cell layer in that tissue, in your gut, then your gut will be able to repair. You see this phenomenon more acutely, if you want, in the gut, just because of the speed of this process. But it's like this everywhere. It's like this in your heart. It's like this in your lung. It's everywhere is like this.
Okay, so stem cell therapy is huge right now, and it's pretty costly if anyone has looked into it. Can you explain what stem cell therapy is? Because I do know some people, I mean, they're going down to Mexico to get stem cell therapy and get like injections. Can you explain that process?
So let's go back to what we talked about a little bit before. Your ability to repair depends upon how many stem cells you have in circulation. Already with what we have talked about today, people, your listeners probably know more than a lot of actual stem cell doctors. And what I mean by this is that oftentimes doctors will go to a training that is going to teach them how to use stem cells, what source, treat them, how to inject them, and with the concept that now we've done something like very exceptional to that person. That person got stem cells. And this happens into this void of understanding that these are not the only stem cells that this person has experienced in their life. You've been releasing stem cells since the day you're born. Everybody on this planet has experienced that the body repairs. Everybody has had a broken bone, a cut, a bruise, something, and you've seen that your body repairs. The reason why you don't repair as well when you're 50 or 60 is simply because now you have a fraction of the stem cells that you had when you were a kid. So what we want to do with a stem cell injection is that for a brief moment, we want to increase the number of stem cells to give you, for that day or two that this injection is there in your bloodstream, the ability to repair that you had, let's say, 20 years ago. That's what we're achieving by an injection. Sometimes it's enough, sometimes it's not enough.
So to get benefits, some people can experience one injection and be good. And I mean, I know some people, they're going through some really chronic issues and they're going regularly to get these stem cell injections because it's just so severe of what they're going through.
Yeah, it's a complicated question. I'll try to keep it simple, but let me take one step back. When I give lectures on this topic, oftentimes just to like mark people's mind, like to scar people's mind, I show them a video. This is the work of Doris Taylor. She took the heart of a mouse and on the cardiac muscle, she circulated digestive enzymes that completely digested the cardiac muscle. So after about 10, 12 hours, the only thing that they're left with is the connective tissue of the heart, like the soft skeleton of the heart, on which they simply laid out stem cells isolated from the animal's bone marrow. And a week later, there's a beating heart in the test tube. So pause for a second and let that sink in. Stem cells in your bone marrow are powerful enough to completely rebuild an entire heart. So the question is not, are stem cells real? Are stem cells working? The question is, why aren't they working in that person? Why am I not getting all these benefits in that person? And there are many things that can stand in the way. And some of these main things are poor microcirculation. We need to understand that normally, generally speaking, the age at which somebody will go get a stem cell injection for something that is degenerative is oftentimes the age at which they're left with roughly, I would say, 1 to 5% of the number of stem cells that they're born with. So they don't have any, and they have not had enough stem cells for a long time, a decade or two. So the moment that you put a little bit more stem cells in circulation, it can make a big difference. But whatever condition they have, oftentimes that condition, although it can be diagnosed as one thing, it's oftentimes many things associated together, and part of this complex of issues is poor microcirculation in the area where the problem is. The chronic nature of the problem has damaged the microcirculation. So the big stem cells that you've injected that can go up to 30 microns cannot go into a 12 micron capillary. So you put the stem cells in the bloodstream, but they cannot access that area. Number one, it's good to prepare the terrain and really try to heal, repair, reconstruct the microcirculation, number one. Number two, and there are clinics more and more right now that will tell you before you get an injection, let's prepare the terrain to make sure that you get the most out of that injection. The other thing is that we often, in medicine today, I'm sure you've heard of the term inflammaging. So the aging process triggered by inflammation, which makes us look at inflammation as a causative agent. Like you have inflammation and that's the cause of your aging. But inflammation is not the cause of anything. Inflammation is the result of an injury that is trying to repair. So it's releasing inflammatory compounds that essentially have one role: to tell stem cells, this is where you need to come to repair. It's a call for repair. And if you don't have enough stem cells in circulation and the microvasculature doesn't allow these stem cells to come to that area, the area keeps calling for repair and then it becomes systemic. That message has spread out into your entire blood. If I inject stem cells in that bloodstream, stem cells cannot find where they need to go. The signal for help is everywhere. So you need to suppress all this background noise so the stem cells can see where to go. So these are like two key things to do before any kind of stem cell treatment: improve microcirculation, reduce systemic inflammation, boost mitochondrial function, because one stem cell is irrelevant. What is relevant is one stem cell migrating into a tissue and become 100,000 tissue cells. That process of amplification is extremely demanding, among other things, mitochondrial biogenesis. So anything that will support mitochondrial function. Just those three things. You just take care of those three things, and now you go for your stem cell treatment, and you can get a much greater outcome of that expenses, that investment.
Those are great tips, Christian. And I know everyone's going to be wondering and thinking two things. One, how much is a typical stem cell injection? And two, are they injecting other people's stem cells into your own body? Like, where are these coming from? Where are they getting them?
It's still, in a way, the Wild West. Not by intent. It's the Wild West because of, if you want, we can go into all this politics, but it's really, it's pharma protecting its territory that has led to lobbying, that led to a lot of regulatory hurdles, regulatory blockages that makes people have to go to Mexico and other places to develop these treatments and apply them, which caused, if you want, a lack of proper documentation, proper sharing of information. The scientific literature is there for people who have results to be able to share what they have done so that we can collectively develop the best way to apply these treatments. But if I am afraid that somebody is going to come and audit what I'm doing, then I do it more secretly. So now there's no sharing, and that's unfortunately the stem cell environment that has been developed. So the answer to your question, I mean, we can do a deep dive in this for the next hour, but if I keep it simple, if you take the way to get stem cells from somebody else, essentially is umbilical cord stem cells. So they're collected at birth, they're cryopreserved, they're frozen. And then when you go into a clinic, they will give you stem cells from somebody else. There are pros and cons to all of those. Or you can get stem cells from your own blood, from your bone marrow, or from your fat tissue, and they are your own stem cells. So these are like the two different types of stem cells that you can get. And if you want, we can go into the pros and cons of all of these, but these are the main sources.
If you love the taste of coffee but can't handle it because you get the jitters, well, you have to try my favorite coffee alternative. It's called Nandaka, and it's from my friends over at Peak Tea. This coffee alternative reminds me of an upscale hot cocoa when enjoyed warm, but you can also add it to a smoothie or over ice for a creamy coffee alternative drink. It's designed to help hormone regulation infused with ceremonial Peruvian cacao to activate metabolism, functional mushrooms to enhance mood and promote cellular renewal, and fermented pu'er tea that provides calm, sustained energy. And if it's from Peak, you already know you can trust that it's organic, vegan, and non-GMO. And the best part is that there's no added sugar, preservatives, fillers, or quote, natural flavors that are commonly being added to teas and drink mixes these days. Peak Tea has been my go-to for years for all things tea and drink mixes because they don't add any nasties or questionable ingredients. Plus, they triple toxin screen all their teas for purity, ensuring no mold, pesticides, heavy metals, or harmful chemicals are in their products. So whether you drink coffee or not, I really think you'll be obsessed like I am with their Nandaka coffee alternative, hot or over ice. And you guys know I got a deal for you as well. Just go to peaklife.com/digest. That's PIQUELIFE.com/digest to get 20% off for life plus a free starter kit. I highly suggest getting their Nandaka and their digestion elixir tea. Their matcha powder is also fantastic. This is a true story, you guys. I was reading stuff on Reddit of someone sharing that they bought a popular organic mattress, not naming names, and it developed mold in 2 months from purchasing it. They said they were washing the sheets and mattress protector and noticed an extreme amount of dense mold had developed on the bottom side of the mattress. They noted that the company refused to warrant their $3,400 mattress purchase. So, just because a mattress is organic and non-toxic doesn't mean it can't accumulate mold. That's why I always recommend Birch mattress. Not only are they made from organic, non-toxic materials, but they use organic latex, which is not susceptible to molding. Plus, Birch offers a 25-year warranty. They are positive you will love their super cozy mattress, and I am too. We love ours, and I want all my listeners to enjoy a deep, restful night's sleep with a new mattress from Birch. Go to birchliving.com/digest for 27% off site-wide. That's birchliving.com/digest and get 27% off site-wide. birchliving.com/digest. Okay. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, because I have so many questions and so much to cover. One, I heard that you can't actually absorb, I don't want to say the word absorb, but if you ingest your own stem cells, I heard it's not effective. No?
Ingest, you mean by mouth?
Yes. Like if you take in your own, no, that's not true.
By mouth, it won't work. You will kill those cells. But do you mean IV injections of your own stem cells?
Well, I was thinking orally,
No,
but
it won't
there's
work.
okay, so if you take your own stem cells orally, it won't work, but injections, then it will?
Yep.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I think the fear of getting someone else's stem cells into your own body, obviously these, they vet for all of the people that donate, right? And they have to make sure that they're healthy and all of that. But I love that you had some research and for lack of a better word, you discovered some alternative ways to optimize this stem cell therapy by a vegan alternative or plant-based.
Yeah. Yeah,
Can
that's
you
fair to
share about
describe.
that?
Yeah. Let me, just before I go into this, let me give a little bit of a historical background because I realized I started to do this recently and it seems like people are just getting the picture in a much with much more depth. So let me take a few minutes here to give the historical background. Stem cells were, I need to pick up where I started into this history, but let's say in the 50s, 1950s, scientists discovered that there's such a thing as a stem cell located in the bone marrow. But it was believed then that these stem cells, are only limited to become blood cells. So, and we continued with that belief for the next 50, 60 years, 50 years. So, at the same time, the science of embryology is developed. We know that if we take an egg and a sperm and we couple them, we get the zygote, and that is like the ultimate stem cells. It can become everything because it will form the entire organism. So if you let that cell develop into the first clump of maybe, I don't know, 100 cells, each one of these cells, you can isolate it. It's an embryonic stem cell, and it can reproduce the entire organism. So the idea was, if we can do this in humans, we have resolved the issue of organ transplant. We can grow organs, I mean, it's just an amazing breakthrough in medical science. The problem is that they were able to do it in dogs, cat, mouse, fruit fly, and like sheeps, but they were never able to do it in humans until 1998. And that's the birth of what we call today's stem cell research. When they were able finally to do this in human, it brought back this dream, well, we might be able to actually grow human organs, human tissues. So they started to work on this, but very quickly it became clear these cells are designed to form a whole organism, and they're too powerful. You cannot limit them to just become a heart or a liver. So the risk of tumor formation is too high. So scientists, now that the genie was out of the box, so where can we find another type of stem cell? So we go to fetal stem cells. They're great, but the ethical issue is obvious. So we get to the next one, umbilical cord stem cells. They're adult stem cells, and they worked well. But in the early 2000s, there's no organized network of collection of these cells, cleaning up, testing, freezing, and all of that. So it took a number of years to develop, and it did. It started to develop. During that time, some scientists asked the question, well, those stem cells in the bone marrow that we think can only do blood cells, what if they could do more than just blood cells? And now it was discovered, in fact, they can do pretty much everything in your body. And then it became clear they're actually your repair system. So now two competing approaches develop, finding a source that I can inject into you, or you releasing your own because it's your repair system. So drugs were found and developed, actually they already existed, so where we inject that into an animal and it triggers the animal release of their own stem cells. And studies have shown, I mean, hundreds of them, studies have shown that if you trigger the release of the animal's own stem cells with heart disease, diabetes, I mean, name it, any one of them, the animal has absolutely phenomenal recovery. So it's amazing. The problem is that when used in humans, those compounds add a side effects unrelated to stem cells, which is to trigger platelet aggregation. So it's like to say, to help you recover from your heart attack, let's give you a stroke. It's not a great marketing message. So it never developed, so injection kind of grew. So where I came in that picture is that in the early 2000s, as all that science was developing in 2001, in fact, I stumbled on a plant that I was trying to understand how it was working in the body. And as a scientist, just like it's trial and error, you put forth hypotheses, you test them. At some point, I came across early stem cell literature, and it appeared to me that stem cells were the repair system of the body. So we published this concept in a scientific paper in a journal called Medical Hypotheses. And in the back of my mind, I thought, just like there are plants stimulating the immune system, what if this was a plant stimulating the repair system? So we bought a flow cytometer to count stem cells, and very quickly we discovered that plant was acting as a stem cell mobilizer, putting more stem cells in circulation, but this time with a plant that is completely safe to use over time. So I've since then identified a number of plants that do this in the body, and I created a blend of all these plants. You take 2 capsules and you release 10 million of your own stem cells. So now...
Okay. I want to pause just for a second. I just want to reiterate. You created Stem Regen, and it's not stem cells, but it makes your own body create your own stem cells, correct?
It makes your body release your own stem cells. Of course, it also makes your body produce more, but what the plants are really doing is triggering the release of your own stem cells.
Okay. So basically, it's almost like it is stem cell therapy, but it's almost like getting stem cell injections, but you're not risking other people's stem cells in you and the needle and all that.
Yeah, I don't want to compare it to stem cell injection because that would be sort of a medical claim. So I don't want to go there right now, but let's just look at it on the surface. You go and you get, let's say, 100 million stem cells in an injection. You will get roughly about 20% survival. So this is about 20 million effective stem cells. Now you take 2 capsules of Stem Regen, you will release on average 10 million stem cells. Take 2 capsules twice in that day, and on that day, without traveling, you have released 20 million of your own stem cells. But you can do this the day after and the day after, and over time, the cumulative effect of these stem cells that you are releasing can be pretty significant. So we have a study that we're ongoing, and I want to make clear, I'm not telling you take our product and it's good for that disease. This is not where I'm going with this. But we wanted to test what is the real meaning of releasing your own stem cells? Because what we're doing essentially, if you look at the number of stem cells, by age 15, you have 50% of the number of stem cells that you're born with. By age 30, you're left with about 10%. By age 50, you're left at 3 to 5%. So right there, you can look past age 40, you have a fraction of what you're born with. And everybody discovers when they pass, early 40s, sometimes before, I don't recover as well as we used to. If I have an injury, it lingers a little bit longer. You can tell that your body is not repairing, healing like it used to. It's just because you don't have enough stem cells. So what if you could give back to your body its ability to repair that it had 20 years ago, and you can do this every day over a sustained amount of time? What your body would do with that ability to repair. So the question was, okay, let's test it, and you need to test it on an organ that is not known to repair. Because if I don't know, if you cut yourself, well, whether you do something or not, it will end up healing. So if you heal within 3 days instead of 5, okay, but it's not like a majestic demonstration. You've just shown it's somewhat subjective, if you want, because anyway, it's not like a wow. But if I can take a condition that normally in medicine, normally in a, let's say, 60 to 75-year-old man or woman, at that age, that person does not have enough stem cells, that organ never repairs. Now, what happens if we put more stem cells in circulation? So we have a study that is ongoing on chronic stable congestive heart failure with people 60 to 75 years of age, and they simply trigger the release of their own stem cells every day for 6 months. We have published the first 10 patients in that study a few months ago, and of these first 10 patients, all 10 have normal heart function after 6 months. So forget now heart disease. What we want to, because we're doing the same thing with lung disease. We'll do the same thing with liver failure, liver fibrosis. Not because we want to claim any impact on a disease. It's just to show your body has an amazing ability to repair. Everybody has witnessed this in their youth. Everybody. Every single living human being has seen this in their life. You lose that ability to repair as you age. What happens if we just give back your body its ability to repair? Here are the example of what happens. That's it.
So you're basically just giving your body the ability to heal and kind of like turning back time, or, and it's basically like an anti-aging
It
pill.
is the ultimate anti-aging because if you look at, I know we're shifting topic, but you brought the anti-aging picture. If let's say you study centenarians, super centenarians, and if you look, and these studies were done, what is the common denominator to all these super centenarians? And there are things in common like genes, intestinal flora. There are different things like this. But there's not one thing that is common to all of them, except two things. Actually, I cannot say there's no thing except two. There are only two things that are common to all of them. Number one, they're happy. Joy is a way of living. Number one. Number two, they have not developed organic age-related disease. I mean organic because you can have arthritis, for example, and still live very long. I'm talking heart disease, COPD, diabetes, any of those. They have not developed age-related disease until a few months before their passing. So anything that is going to delay the onset of these conditions will give you greater health span and greater longevity. Now, I published this in 2013 in the scientific literature. Just like in 2001, I published, it looks like stem cells are the repair system of the body. In 2013, I published a novel understanding of disease formation. We essentially fundamentally develop diseases because we lose our ability to offset ongoing cellular loss and our organs develop deficits. And there's a way to test for this. At the time I wrote, go count the number of stem cells in the bloodstream of people who have developed various kinds of age-related disease, and it should be less than what you find in a healthy person of the same age. And now there's about 50 of those studies that have been done, and you take people with heart disease, cardiovascular disease, atherosclerosis, high blood pressure, erectile dysfunction, diabetes, liver failure, kidney failure, COPD, Parkinson, Alzheimer's, lupus, arthritis. The list keeps growing, migraine recently. All these people have 50% or less than what you find in a healthy person of the same age. So now take these people and just say, now I can, through nutrition, simply increase the number of stem cells every day, giving back every day to your body its ability to maintain itself. Obviously, you will delay the onset of these problems. So it's probably fundamentally, the best strategy for longevity.
Wow. Okay. So you mentioned nutrition and also that stem regen is from plants. Can you share what those plants are?
Well, they were all discovered like organically. So the first one is blue-green algae from Klamath Lake. Its name is Aphanisomnon flus aqua, so known on the market as AFA. So blue-green algae, AFA. Not spirulina. Spirulina doesn't do it. So AFA. So I was trying to understand why somebody had major recovery or improvement in heart function, somebody else lung, somebody else liver, and so on. And I had no understanding until we discovered it releases stem cells. After all the work is done on that plant, I thought there has to be other plants. It cannot be the only one. So I started to look at what is known historically to be associated with a broad variety of health benefits. And let's go and test them for their effect on stem cells. So immediately what will come to mind? Goji berries, medicinal mushroom, adaptogens, products that are known to do many things. We don't have a good understanding why. Well, the why is that it's stem cells. So they all have an effect on stem cells, but they're not the star ingredients. Star ingredients I came across when I was traveling in Madagascar at some point, asking locally, what is the go-to plant, like for any kind of problem? And there's one species of aloe that has been used for centuries to make a local product called Vahona, and they use it for all kinds of things, and they use it to help grandpa still go and work in the field, in their 80s. So I tested it, and it triggers a significant release of stem cells from the bone marrow. As I was traveling into China at some point, I asked a bunch of biochemists, you're lost on an island, you can only bring one plant of the entire Chinese pharmacopoeia. What would it be? And all three told me sea buckthorn berry. I was surprised. I dove in the scientific literature and I found in Tibetan medicine, Mongolian medicine, Chinese medicine, it has been used for lung disease, heart disease, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and to speed up recovery from skin, like burn to the skin, cut to the skin, bone fracture. So you look at the spread of these benefits and it's telling me it looks like we have a stem cell phenomenon here. So I went on the Tibetan plateau, worked with a farm harvesting sea buckthorn berry, and then we documented an ingredient that indeed releases stem cells. So in this way, we have this blue-green algae, we have this aloe from Madagascar. We've named it stem aloe. We have sea buckthorn berry. We have Panax notogensin, and we have fucoidan from brown seaweeds. So these are the key ingredients right now that act as stem cell mobilizers.
Constipation is something no one is willing to admit, but over 33 million people suffer in silence, along with the accompanying conditions such as bloating and feeling of fullness. And when you're constipated, toxins build up in your system, causing skin issues, headaches, brain fog, and even weight gain. In fact, weight gain is directly associated with poor gut health. So not only does our immune system stem from our gut, but also the way we look on the outside. I am always recommending Seed's DS-01 Daily Symbiotic to anyone who needs gut support, constipated, or even has loose stools. Regularity is something we need to take seriously. And what if it could all be helped by one simple capsule you take daily? I'd be 100% in if I were you. And honestly, what have you got to lose? Go to seed.com/digest and use my code 20digest for 20% off your first month of Seed's DS-01 Daily Symbiotic. That's SEED.com/digest and use the code 20digest to get 20% off. How does Stem Regen compare with other expensive regenerative therapies? Like for once, do you have to take these pills every day? Is it once a month? How does that compare?
My thought on this has evolved over time in the sense that as I'm developing all that science, it has become clear to me conceptually that we lose our health every day. The body, so this is something that has come very clearly from stem cell research. The human body is constantly through a process of tissue turnover. We have all heard these phrases, you get a new body every year, 7 years, 12 years. The reality is that each organ will renew at a specific rate. So, and by specific, I mean time frame, like your gut every week, your skin every month, your liver every 2-3 years, your lung 4 to 6 years, your heart that was believed still today in med school, they will tell you past 8-10 years of age, your heart no longer has the ability to repair. We know today that the heart has about 1% turnover annually. So the heart is constantly renewing, the brain as well. The entire body is going through this process of tissue turnover. So understanding that we have this process of tissue turnover, I thought you need to offset that every day. As you age, it's a daily process. But over time, now, because I've developed this since 2001, so I've had various formulas over the years, always making it better and stronger. So the product that we have today, Stem Regen Release, is so potent that let's take an example. You take 2 capsules a day, you release 10 million of your own stem cells, do this for a month. That's 300 million of your own stem cells that you have released. People will pay a lot of money to get 100 million stem cells in another country. You release 300 million of your own stem cells in the way that your body is intended to use them, meaning little every day. So if you look at it this way, you could say, well, I can do this like a month a year. So I would say right now, I take it every day. In our studies, people take it every day. So for me, it's something that you take every day past, let's say, 40 years of age. But somebody could say, as I get into my 30s, Let's do this 1 month in the year. As you get to your 40s, do this 2, 3 times in the year. As you get past 50, do this every other month, or even you may start to just do this daily. And then you support your body daily. And there's no doubt in my mind that this will change the trajectory of a person's development of various sort of age-related problems.
Well, I love that you're making your own stem cells as opposed to getting someone else's. And I also, it's interesting to me because it varies from different person to person. So I think that's great. Now, are there any side effects?
The only side effect that we know of right now is because of an interaction between the ingredients is joy. So you take the product and it's kind of a mood elevator. No, there's no side effects. I mean, there are things that can be experienced. Healing crisis, some things when you repair fast, your body needs to adapt to it. Sometimes we see that a lot, and I have no explanation for it, but we see that a lot in people with either joint issues or things like fibromyalgia. It's not uncommon that people will first report an exacerbation of their condition, their pain or whatever it is.
When you said healing crisis, is it like, my mind goes back to one time I had sprained I think it was my wrist in 2020. And it was like really bad. And they put a cast on it and all this stuff. And I was so tired for like 2 days because my body was healing and it was taking all that energy to heal. So when you say healing crisis, maybe are you saying that you're going to be like tired while your body rejuvenates, or what does that mean?
It happens. We have seen it. When we have seen it, it's oftentimes the fatigue is oftentimes with people with let's say mild traumatic brain injury. And I know that I'm using a clinical term here, but it is a condition that is vastly under recognized, underdiagnosed. If you fell one day and you hit let's say you slip on the ice and you hit your head, somebody punched you, somebody hit you from the back in a car, and then your head hits something, you're very likely to have a form of mild traumatic brain injury. The problem and the reason why it's super misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed is that the impact of this and the problem that it generates will show up within 3 to 6 months after. So when it starts to appear, you don't link it back to that benign event where you just happen to have fallen, if you want, on the ice. And the problem will be you don't concentrate as well. What you read now, you don't remember. And it has to do with eye coordination, asthma, allergies, sleep disturbances, high blood pressure. Your blood pressure can change, hormonal imbalances. A lot of things like this can develop, and it's not linked to that mild traumatic brain injury. The moment that you allow your brain to start to repair, oftentimes people will experience that repair as fatigue. So that's one part of healing crisis. Another one is it's a process that it's part of my training I got in France, and it's something that is I mean, from when I was taught this, it seemed to be like a common thing in France, and I have rarely heard about it here in the United States or Canada. And it's a process called decompensation. And the best way to describe it as an analogy is to say, let me put, let's say, a 50-pound bag on your shoulder. And now you start walking with this bag. You need to lean on your left side, otherwise your center of gravity is shifted. So as you do this, you stretch your vertebra on one side, and you shift your center of gravity, your entire body adapts to this. If one day I come and I remove that 50-pound bag, I take away this burden from you. Now it's when the other side is stretched that suddenly it's create all kinds of pain, and your body needs to decompensate. And I'm saying this because we in medicine tend to look at the heart as heart disease. It's rarely just one organ. Everything is a whole in the body. Everything try to compensate for the weak spot in the body. And that compensation can be multi-layered. And the moment you repair an area in your body, that compensation now becomes the problem. Now the compensation is you're overcompensating over something that no longer needs that compensation. You need to decompensate. And oftentimes that is experienced as an imbalance in the body. And it can be all kinds of things. Then that's why at times people start to experience pain in many places in their body with joint issues, fibromyalgia. It's fairly common. So that's what I mean by healing crisis.
Okay. Have you had any experience with Alzheimer's disease?
Yes and no, meaning that I've had cases over the years that have come to me and shared benefits. For most of the time, it's for somebody in their family. I've had quite a bit of those. However, every single cases that we studied prospectively, meaning somebody is coming and say, I have my parents, and I say, okay, let's do a mini trial here. I'm providing the product and keep me informed of the outcome. I didn't do many people, let's say 10 people over the years. None of them really came back with significant results. So the answer is I don't know what is the actual frequency of success. Is it 5%, 10% of the people, 20% of the people? I have not seen great results, but a lot of people have come and have shared these benefits. Now, if I go into the scientific literature, there are studies, there are not many, but there's one, for example, in which they develop a genetic strain of mice that will spontaneously develop Alzheimer's after 6 months of age. Now, if you take these mice and after 2 months of age, between 2 to 4 months, you trigger release of their own stem cells from their own bone marrow, they do not develop cognitive deficit at age 6 months. So, but these are models. They're not the condition in humans. So there's a gap there. Research needs to continue. There's no doubt in my mind that
I don't think it could harm.
no, you will not harm, but there's no doubt in my mind that there's a play there. It's just a little bit more complex with Alzheimer's, but there's a play there.
Okay. So my followers know that I'm currently going through mold. I have mold in my lungs. And I'm curious, would stem regen or stem cell therapy in general help with mold toxicity, or do you have any experience with that? Because I'm literally asking like for my own self here.
Yeah. I mean, just think everything that we've talked about before, and you can. I think you could answer your own question here. But let me put it out. Everything is a balance between your ability to repair and the pressure or the burden that is put on your body. You have an enhanced burden because now you have molds that is creating toxicity that is damaging tissues. Once that is removed, if you boost your ability to repair, you're going to repair the damage that has been produced by the molds and the toxins. So I would say it's a two-prong approach. Stem cells will not take care of the mold. That's not what stem cells do. So there need to be a way to remove the toxic element, and after that, stem cells can go and repair and basically bring back your body to where it was before.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's not going to get rid of the mold, but I think it's going to help my body repair itself by giving it more immunity and more soldiers to fight, for lack of a better term here.
Correct. And at times people will report benefits. Like we have had with various kinds of autoimmune conditions. Many times people came, I mean, it's among probably the most commonly reported benefit. People will report benefit. And I explain to them the product or the stem cell treatment has not changed anything to the autoimmune process. It's just that you have boosted your ability to repair, so you don't experience an impact in your quality of life because of the autoimmune process. The autoimmune process is a molecular and cellular phenomenon. You do not feel the impact. You feel the impact of the damage to the tissue where the autoimmune process is taking place. That's what is affecting your quality of life. So if the damage keeps going at the same rate, but you boost your ability to repair, now you experience a much better quality of life. Nothing has changed to the autoimmune process. So you still need to handle the autoimmune issue, whatever it is. But if you boost your ability to repair, you can increase your quality of life as you deal with the issue.
No, I'm definitely interested in this, and I love that it's natural. It's not some pharmaceutical thing. I do want to ask though, stem cell therapy, the injections, how much are they? And then compared to stem regen?
I mean, it really depends where you go. There's so many different factors. Let's say it's between 3,000 to 50,000. That's kind of your range. At 50,000, there are approaches that has been referred. I mean, like the complete body makeover. So we take umbilical cord stem cells, bone marrow stem cells, fat-derived stem cells, blood stem cells. Make a blend of all of these, inject that into every single joint of your body, into muscles, and then into your blood circulation, into your scalp, into your skin. And now you got like a whole rejuvenation impact, if you want, on your entire body. This is more like 50 grand. If you just go to a small clinic, who's just going small, doesn't have to be small. You go to a clinic where they're just going to take a vial of umbilical cord stem cells and then inject them to you. You can find places where you can get it for $3,000. And I'm not saying that the one at 3,000 is not going to work or will work less. I would say the thing to pay attention to is how in the clinic, the whole process of preparing the terrain is really presented. If you really want to capitalize on the impact of that injection, you need to prepare your body to really, on the day of that injection, if your body is not in a place to really receive these stem cells and use them, it's like you wasted your money. So it takes a little bit more preparation. In our study on the heart, we have actually 3 groups, because the question that I had was, how does releasing your own stem cells with plant extracts compare with an injection? And what if we combine both? What synergy do we get? Because the doctors that I'm working with that use both obtain every time better results than people who only do injections. But I wanted to quantify it. And right now, the data coming out from the study, we only publish part of those data. But what we get is stem regen, or these plant extracts, will over time give you an effect comparable to an injection. But if you combine both, you get almost like twice the benefits. So it's to say, if you can afford an injection, you would be foolish to not add those plant extract on top of it. But if you cannot afford an injection, then these plant extract, can give you a great outcome. So stem regen, 1 bottle, if you're not at Black Friday or any of these, which is very soon, so you can wait for Black Friday. But without any sort of promotion, it's $189 for a bottle. That bottle is 30 servings, so 2 capsules for a month. And you will have, on average, released about 300 million of your own stem cells in that month.
Wow. I mean, honestly, comparing to 3,000 to 50 grand, $200 for a bottle, I'm in. So
I would think so.
Yeah. Okay. So where can people find Stem Regen if they are interested, and where can they find you on social media?
So stemregen.co, stemregen.co, so they'll get all the information on the product, the science should all be there. And I answer a lot of questions on social media, on either TikTok or Instagram at Stem Cell Christian.
Okay, so I'll be sure to put both of those links, your Instagram and your website, in today's show notes. So if you're listening now, just go to today's show notes, and then you can just find both of those resources with one easy tap. Christian, thank you so much, not just for your time today, but for your years of research on this matter, because you're changing lives, and I cannot wait to try it myself. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Digest This. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review in your podcast app to let us know. If you're ever wondering how you can support me and this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family is the best way. This is a Wellness Loud production produced by Drake Peterson and edited by Mike Fry. To check out more shows by my team, go to wellnessloud.com, and to email the show, message us at digestthispod@gmail.com. See you next time. The content of this show is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for individual medical and mental health advice and does not constitute a provider-patient relationship. As always, talk to your doctor or health team first.
Are you ready to rock middle age? I'm Dr. Tina Moore, Gen X truth teller and holistic physician. On the Dr. Tina Show, one of Apple Podcast's top alternative health shows, I share what actually works for metabolic health, hormones, and strength, backed by decades of clinical results, not trends. From loving the gym and hitting your protein goals to peptides and microdosing GLP-1s, it's all done the right way, not the hype way. Because menopause doesn't have to suck if you're fit. New episodes every Thursday, produced by Drake Peterson and Wellness Loud.